What if everyone knew Palpatine was the Sith Lord? Let's explore the depths of it in the video. Obi-Wan's jaw falls open as he hears this claim. He can hardly believe it. Part of him wants to deny it outright, but Dooku continues to go on, and unfortunately, everything he says makes sense. Far too much sense to be empty ramblings. The pieces of the puzzle start to fit together. The Senate's inaction, the appearance of a Sith Lord, and Padme's assassination attempts. The gears in his head begin to question everything. Who benefited most from it?
Palpatine. The Sith Lord is Palpatine.
You are clever, Obi-Wan. Together we can stop him. Join me and we can avenge Qui-Gon.
No. If you have evidence, then you must report it to the Jedi immediately. Whatever you might have done here, we can make amends now and bring him justice. It isn't too late.
So clever and yet so naive to see it already is. The Jedi have missed their chance. The only way to survive is by destroying Palpatine.
The Count spares him a look, one of genuine sadness. The memories of everything that happened here burn themselves into Obi-Wan's mind and replay in his head. But while Dooku doesn't say a word, Obi-Wan wastes no time in informing the Jedi Council. While they are skeptical, they see this as an opportunity to end the war before it happens. A strike team accompanies Obi-Wan to confront the Chancellor, just as he finishes the meeting, while a probe droid records everything from outside.
Ah, Masters. What can I do for you today?
We want answers. Why did you orchestrate this war?
I have no idea what you're talking about. Do not play the fool. We were told everything. And you've been working together with the Separatists for years. Make no mistake, we will get answers from you, one way or another.
Did Dooku tell you this? Surely you can see he is trying to divide us, trying to draw you into this scandal.
Scandal? Do you think the dark side is simply some game you can play to maintain your office? I have half a mind to cut you down now.
Careful, Mace. Those words you say might be construed as a threat.
No, but this is.
He ignites his lightsaber and rushes forward. He steps over Palpatine's desk and points his lightsaber at him. However, at the last second, the Chancellor's lightsaber powers up and bats it aside. As he leaps to his feet, the other Jedi ignite their weapons and surround him. Palpatine looks around and laughs. Then he unleashes his Force shriek that brings their advance to a halt. His lightsaber works in a blur, slashing and keeping the Jedi from closing in on him. He uses the Force to throw Ajen Kalar and Adi Gallia off their feet and whirls to block Mace and Obi-Wan's attacks. Despite his age, he moves like a demon, his lightsaber flashing at blinding speed. The two carefully block these attacks and advance on him. Obi-Wan sliding to one side and flanking him, while Mace advances on the other, his movements slow and deliberate, but powerful to absorb each attack. Seeing himself make no progress against the Jedi, Palpatine growls and hurls his chair at them. The pair easily cut them down in advance, unleashing a flurry of attacks that put Palpatine on the defensive. But as Palpatine tries to block their attacks, he notices the probe droid monitoring everything, and his eyes widen. He knows what needs to be done. When the two move to swing at him, Palpatine leaps over their lightsabers. Ajen Kalar and Adi Gallia get to their feet. The two try to block his path, swinging their lightsabers in a flurry of strikes to try and halt his advance. Though it slows him down, he slides through their attack and then vanishes. To the Jedi, it doesn't matter, as this is everything they need. With the data from the probe droid, they present it to the Senate, who are stunned by this development. They immediately summon Palpatine to answer for this, but receive no reply. For the next few days, the Senate searches for him until he unexpectedly shows up in the Senate chambers.
I have come to address the recent claims about affiliation with Dooku.
To all the good senators of the Republic, Palpatine has betrayed our trust. He must be removed immediately.
Now, let us not get ahead of ourselves. I am a practitioner of the dark side. As of the Force, I have studied it since I was a boy. But there is little truth in my affiliation to Count Dooku.
Liar. Dooku said you were his master.
Indeed. I heard the claim as well. He told you that while you were his prisoner. He tried to turn you to his side. But ask yourself, perhaps this is simply Dooku's attempt to turn us against each other. The CIS has the momentum. He simply wants to cause more chaos.
To Obi-Wan's surprise, he sees the senators hesitate. They all look at one another in uncertainty, starting to mutter amongst themselves. The Jedi tries to regain the initiative.
He is a Sith Lord, a master of the dark side. We cannot allow him to hold the chancellorship. What kind of precedent would we be setting?
Indeed. What precedent will we set? We've established that I dabble in the dark side. But tell me, what laws did I break? Is that truly what the Senate wishes? For one to be persecuted because they have beliefs and ideas that others find repugnant. If the Jedi can find a scrap of evidence to prove I have collaborated with Count Dooku, I shall gladly resign. But until then, I will do no such thing, and I most certainly will not let them dictate how the Senate is run based on their narrow dogmas.
To Obi-Wan's horror, the Senate erupts in applause, shouting their support for Palpatine. This entire endeavor turns the Senate against the Jedi, who they see as meddling in their affairs. Though they promise to keep an eye on Palpatine, these are hollow promises, as his position as Chancellor makes him nearly untouchable.
We must act immediately. The longer Palpatine stays in power, the more allies he can bring to his side. The Chancellor must be removed from office immediately.
Not so simple, the matter is. Sith Lord he may be, but Chancellor he is of the Republic, and citizens of the state we are.
To strike him down, especially when we have no proof, will reflect badly on the Jedi. It might heighten distrust towards us.
More than allowing a Sith Lord to remain in power? If we do nothing, the Republic is lost.
On that, I agree. But we won't be doing nothing. We shall keep an eye on him. We know who the Sith Lord is. That means we can watch him carefully.
Limit the damage under Palpatine's rule, we will.
The answer is incredibly unsatisfying for Obi-Wan, who leaves frustrated. It focuses the Jedi to redouble their efforts and remain their loyalty to the Republic by fighting against Dooku and the CIS. Palpatine doesn't forget the Jedi who tried to kill him either. All of them are sent to the front lines to fight the CIS. Even the Jedi are helpless. But some of them prove their worth, like Anakin, who becomes a war hero. His bravery is unmatched, which makes him a symbol of hope. He fully buys into the idea that Dooku was trying to manipulate the Republic. Meanwhile, Obi-Wan's faith is shaken by this interaction. Even with irrefutable evidence, the Jedi are still paralyzed by the Republic. For the first time, he questions the Jedi Order and the Republic, wondering whether it is still worth serving. He only fights with half-hearted energy, as one thought continues to linger in his mind, and that is what Dooku warned him. Soon he begins to question whether he's truly even serving for the light, and each time he does, that offer comes back, to work with the Count and stop this from happening. Obi-Wan takes a deep breath after another long mission. The casualties and the difficulties they faced were made only worse by Palpatine's snubbing him, preventing much-needed supplies from arriving. He reaches onto his holodisk and sends a message to Dooku. A few hours later, he receives coordinates. He hops onto his starfighter and disappears, rendezvousing with a CIS frigate on the edge of the Outer Rim. The Count is waiting for him with open arms, smiling sadly.
So, you at last see the truth, my wayward friend. The Republic is not what it seems.
Enough. I am not here to hear you gloat. I am here to try and stop the galaxy from falling into chaos.
A noble goal, but one doomed to failure if you are not willing to learn from your mistakes. Do you know what you did wrong, and why Palpatine was so successful?
He won over the Senate. We rushed in too boldly instead of waiting and seeing.
There is your problem. You still think like a Jedi. To defeat Palpatine, you must follow the ways of the Sith. His greatest weapon isn't the dark side or his cunning. It is his utter lack of shame. He does not care what he does so long as he accomplishes his goal. Something he knows the Jedi will never do. I cannot help you if you are not willing to do the same.
The disappearance of Obi-Wan causes a stir in the Republic. If nothing else, he is still one of their most famous Jedi. Many, like Anakin, mourn his loss and believe the CIS has captured him. But shortly after, Dooku unveils his new general, a Mandalorian by the name of Ben. They claim he is the remnants of the Death Watch who remained loyal to him. Ben serves as a brilliant commander, leading the droid forces with renewed vigor. Ben quickly makes a name for himself as a brave and decisive but cunning commander who can outsmart even the best Jedi generals because he seems to know how they think. All across the CIS fronts, Ben begins to gain ground, using his extensive knowledge of the Jedi and Republic strategies. But while effective, he lacks ruthlessness and cruelty, instead making an effort to lead his troops with honor, avoiding the destruction and oppression that becomes all too common with these other commanders. Ben displays strict discipline and respect for the civilian population. He makes it seem less like a military occupation and more like a simple transaction, avoiding disruption to people's day-to-day lives. While not in his alter ego, Obi-Wan spends his time with Dooku, who takes him as a student and begins learning the ways of the dark side. The Count is surprised at how eager Obi-Wan is to learn, but welcomes this development. In some ways, it is a welcome change to have a student he takes pride in, similar to how Qui-Gon was so many years ago. But while the Chancellor never fully discovers it, he does suspect that his student is plotting something. In response, he begins searching for his apprentice as well. His first and only choice is Anakin. With the loss of Obi-Wan, Anakin is completely distraught and grief-stricken as he believes that he is dead. Of course, Palpatine is always there waiting for him, ready to comfort him and offer him a chance at revenge. With his secret now open, he offers to train Anakin in the dark side as a way to become stronger. At the same time, it helps convince him of his innocence. Before long, whatever defenses the young Jedi puts up break down, as he now accepts Palpatine as his master and the two begin training. Although he claims this is so he can keep an eye on Palpatine, without Obi-Wan, Anakin's loyalty to the Jedi is much diminished. But as the war drags on, a third force claws its way back up and begins to terrorize the galaxy. Darth Maul and his brother Savage. At first, they have no interest in fighting the war, simply craving revenge against Obi-Wan. To lure him out, they begin to raid the territory under Obi-Wan's control, not just killing his soldiers, but also massacring the civilians there, the ones he fought so hard to protect. The news enrages Obi-Wan, who decides to confront Maul alongside Dooku. Thankfully, it isn't difficult to track him down, as Maul records all of his attacks. The two track the brothers to a frontier planet, where they finish burning down a village. Obi-Wan steps forward, igniting his lightsaber, which now glows an eerie crimson. He regards the destruction with calm anger, ignoring the heat and smoke as he approaches the center with Dooku by his side. Maul and Savage stand amidst the carnage, their crimson blades humming ominously as they watch the two approach.
Darth Sidious's grip on the galaxy tightens while you waste your potential on petty vengeance.
So, you are my replacement. And Kenobi, I smell the stench of you even underneath that armor. So even you have fallen. It does not matter though. Jedi or Sith, you shall die. You think you're fighting for freedom, but all you're doing is feeding Palpatine's war machine. If you won't see reason, then you're no better than him.
Maul's lips curl into a sneer, and the air crackles as Maul and Savage charge forward, their ferocity unmatched. Dooku immediately unleashes a burst of force lightning that throws Savage back. Meanwhile, Obi-Wan blocks Maul's slash and leaps over the backswing. Growling, he counters with a vicious stab that forces him to back away. However, Maul only smiles at the challenge as his strike comes raining down with inhuman speed. But instead of breaking Obi-Wan's defenses, the Jedi hardens his stance and skids back from the blow. Reaching for some burning rubble, he hurls it at Maul, who hisses in pain as the embers fall against him. But with the pain grows fury as Maul spreads both hands out and unleashes a burst of force energy that throws Obi-Wan back. Meanwhile, Savage charges at Dooku, who casually parries each attack with almost casual grace. But when he can't break his defenses, he roars and rushes forward, knocking Dooku into a burning house. There, the pair continue to duel, the Count dodging each attack and lifting up the shards of a broken window. The glass cuts through the chinks in his armor and slows Savage enough for Dooku to counter. He rushes forward and kicks the hulking warrior down. As he staggers, Dooku slashes his lightsaber, hacking through his armor and searing the flesh underneath. With each blow, Savage feels his anger brewing until he lets out a force push that knocks Dooku through a wall. From the rubble, Savage comes running, twirling his lightsaber and ready to attack, but Dooku sidesteps each move. Meanwhile, Obi-Wan and Maul's duel continues to escalate. The battle through the ruins of the village, the destruction only fueling Obi-Wan's fury as Maul rushes at him. He can sense the anger growing and smiles, pressing his attack. As they enter the town square, Maul smiles back.
Does this anger you, Kenobi? Just like when I gutted your master.
The shriek takes Maul off guard, almost as much as Obi-Wan's lightning attack. He barely parries that as Obi-Wan rushes forward. His lightsaber swings become blinding, and he mixes in several punches that throw the Night Brother back. As soon as he hits the ground, Maul feels a lightsaber pressing against his throat.
Believe me, I would like nothing more than to finish you off. But I need you alive. Right now you have a choice. Dying here to me, or taking your chance with Palpatine.
But then, a new sound fills the air. A low rumble of Republic gunships. Anakin Skywalker leaps from the lead gunship. Behind him are Jedi and clones who rush forward.
Ben! Dooku!
He lands amidst the carnage, his blade immediately clashing with Dooku's. The clones open fire, forcing Maul and Savage to scatter and deflect bolts back at the soldiers. Some of the Jedi rush at him while they are distracted. Maul's laughter echoes as he cuts down a Jedi. Savage roars, slamming his saber into the ground and sending clones flying back with the Force. Obi-Wan finds himself face to face with Anakin, their blades meeting in a shower of sparks. But to Obi-Wan's surprise, the dark energy radiates off his former apprentice. For a moment, there is regret, but that is quickly replaced with anger at what Palpatine has done. He growls and counters a savage swing from Anakin, pushing it aside and shoving him back. Obi-Wan follows by jabbing at him, but the younger Jedi sidesteps. Around them, the ground is soon littered with bodies of clones and Jedi alike. Savage crushes another trooper with a swing of his massive arm, while Dooku dispatches two Jedi with elegant precision. All around them, the strike force is losing momentum, leaving Anakin facing them alone. He closes his eyes and unleashes a burst of force energy that throws Obi-Wan and the others down, but the explosion knocks Obi-Wan's helmet free. Anakin freezes, his saber held mid-swing, as he stares into the familiar face beneath.
Obi-Wan? How could you?
Anakin, it's not what you think.
Before he can continue, Dooku appears and unleashes a burst of force lightning. Though Anakin manages to block them, it allows the others to get up and advance, forcing him to retreat. But as he disappears, Obi-Wan and Dooku turn to Maul and Savage.
It seems Palpatine wants you dead as much as us. How do you think your chances are alone?
Maul looks at the carnage. Although they escaped victorious, they were not unbloodied, especially with Anakin. Slowly, he growls and looks over at them.
What do you have in mind?
The fall of Obi-Wan presents the perfect opportunity for Palpatine to present Dooku as the true enemy. He claims that he radicalized Obi-Wan and turned him into an enemy of the Republic. While the Senate are eager to believe this, the Jedi are less certain, but they remain as impotent as ever. Meanwhile, the CIS are preparing their position. With Maul, they now have an eyewitness who can testify whatever they claim and provide another source of evidence. Together they can present everything and show that Palpatine has ties with all previous Sith apprentices. One might be a coincidence, but both would prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that Palpatine is guilty. This allows them to begin formulating their plan. As Dooku's solar sailor clears the skies of Coruscant, they approach the Jedi Temple, where Dooku and Obi-Wan step out to greet former friend Mace Windu.
I will give you this. You two are bold to come here. This had better be good.
Master Windu, you know Palpatine is the Sith Lord we've been searching for. We have the proof, and he has paralyzed our Republic, slowly consolidating power. The Senate has become nothing more than his puppets, while your council debates itself into irrelevance. If the Jedi do not act now, there will be no order left to protect.
And what's your end game? It's hard to see you as allies when you work to undermine the Republic as well. My war against the Republic was born of disillusionment, not ambition. But the galaxy cannot heal as long as Palpatine remains in power. And what would the Jedi do?
We plan to stage a coup, but it will only work with the Jedi's support. While we handle Palpatine, you must ensure the Senate is occupied.
A bold plan, but one that is sound. Just don't think for a second that I've forgiven you. Either of you.
Mace gathers whatever Jedi support him and meet them outside the Senate building. There, the Jedi move to secure the exits and ensure that no information gets in or out. This leaves the 4 Sith Lords hurrying to the Chancellor's office. The corridors are eerily quiet, the usual bustle replaced by a heavy, unexpected stillness as Mace and the Jedi accomplish their task. But as they hurry down the halls, a single figure moves to stop them. Clad in dark robes, Anakin stands over them and ignites his lightsaber. They all square their shoulders and prepare to fight, but Obi-Wan orders them to move on ahead.
I can handle this. Anakin, you've fallen quite far.
I can say the same for you. How could you throw in your lot with Maul and Dooku? Did you forget what happened to Qui-Gon?
I forgot nothing, especially not the one who ordered his death. Anakin, Palpatine is using you. It isn't too late to turn back.
I'm afraid it is.
He charges at Obi-Wan, who raises his blade to block against the devastating storm of attacks. The movements are like lightning and drive Obi-Wan back step by step. Even Maul cannot match this ferocity. When he looks up at Anakin, there is pain in his eyes, but he shoves him back and unleashes a burst of lightning that Anakin blocks. He then leaps over to try and slash at Obi-Wan's head. Behind them, the sound of combat from the office can be heard, the crack of lightsabers and the cries of the Sith. Obi-Wan advances forward, trying to keep Anakin from going there. He swings his lightsaber in a series of careful arcs, each forcing Anakin to defend. But this only angers him, and when their blades meet again, his eyes glow a sickly yellow.
I trusted you.
He suddenly sweeps his lightsaber around, unleashing a torrent of dark energy that throws his master back. Anakin follows up by hacking at Obi-Wan, unleashing a barrage of strikes aimed at his chest. The force of the blow is enough to knock the wind out of Obi-Wan, especially as Anakin kicks him across the chest and sends him stumbling into the hall. Anakin follows up with a vicious swipe, though Obi-Wan dives and rolls over the attack. Anakin notices a table behind Obi-Wan and pulls it forward to knock him over. However, Obi-Wan senses this and leaps over the attack, sending the table flying towards Anakin. At the last second, he slashes it apart, but it is enough distraction for Obi-Wan to hurl his lightsaber. It comes in a flash, but Anakin is ready and leans back, letting it flash over his face. Though temporarily unarmed, Obi-Wan unleashes a barrage of lightning that throws Anakin back against the wall. Obi-Wan pauses and fires another burst, though Anakin manages to block it. A few stray bolts singe Anakin's skin and cause unimaginable pain. However, his face remains defiant. Obi-Wan brings his lightsaber down, but Anakin defends. Gritting his teeth, he feints down and then twists, taking Anakin's arm at the wrist.
I hate you. You're a traitor.
I'm sorry, Anakin.
He closes his eyes and drives it into his chest. As Anakin breathes his last, Mace and a pair of Jedi appear. The two share a nod and hurry to the office where the battle is still raging. Despite their best efforts, it doesn't go well, as Savage lays dead while Dooku and Maul are hard-pressed against Palpatine. With a cry, Obi-Wan rushes to join them while the Jedi surround them. His lightsaber flashes in the air, slashing at Palpatine, who blocks this attack. He flashes Palpatine a smile.
Ah, Master Kenobi, you have caused me quite a bit of trouble. You've talked for too long, Palpatine. I'm tired of it. Now I shall make my thoughts clear.
He swings back again, forcing Palpatine back. Seeing him stumble, the others rally and rush at him. Maul and Dooku press him from either side, forcing him to split his attention. Beads of sweat form as he's facing not just 3 foes, but 3 fighting styles. Maul roars and presses forward, swinging his saber staff while Dooku advances carefully. His movements precise as ever, while Obi-Wan makes several deliberate probing attacks. Finally, one attack comes too fast and slashes him across the arm. Palpatine hisses in pain as the distraction is enough for the Jedi to rush forward. Against 6, it is too much for Palpatine, and multiple cuts flash across his body, sending him stumbling and dropping to the ground. The only thing that spares him from death is their desire to put him on trial. After Palpatine's manipulations, he now finds himself faced with overwhelming evidence from Maul and Dooku. This vindicates the Jedi's concerns and proves Palpatine's true intentions and ensures he is given the death sentence, with the Jedi carrying it out. With Palpatine dead, Dooku begins the process of peace talks brokered by the Jedi. With how the Senate willingly allowed a Sith Lord to take power, their influence is greatly weakened, allowing the Jedi to play a larger role. They form an unofficial alliance with Dooku, allowing them to pass a series of laws to reform the Republic's society to make them more in line with the Jedi Code. But politically, Dooku is the true power and demands multiple concessions before he allows the war to end, leaving the CIS in a near equal position with the Republic. That's our theory. The Star Wars universe is a galaxy filled with exciting stories and possibilities, and we love exploring them. If you want to accompany us on this journey to a galaxy far, far away, then please like, share, and subscribe to our channel.